All right, it is time for Friday Reads. Hey everyone, it is Shannon, and I'm super excited to be here today and to share with you my Friday Reads video. In my Friday Reads videos, I share the books that I finished, the books I started, and anything interesting about books I'm carrying over week to week. And I think I have a little bit of everything, so let's get started with the finishes. First up, I did finish the Misanthrope and Other Plays by Molière. I think it was in the middle of the Doctor in Spite of Himself last time. And so I read the final two, which were The Imaginary Invalid and, or maybe not, and Tartuffe. I had finished Tartuffe, so maybe not. Oh, look, I found it actually has the receipt from 1983. I think that's what that is, 83. It was $3.95, and that's what it says on the back. $3.99. $3.95 in Canada. So yeah. Anyway, already on a tangent. So yeah, I think I ended up I enjoyed Tartuffe. I would have to say there were diminishing returns for this one. The last two I didn't enjoy as much, so I don't have too much to say about it. I think out of all of them, my favorite was the Sicilian or the Misanthrope. They were both really, really good. So it started off strong, and then it wasn't like it was bad or anything. I just didn't. There was one where there was a lot of like the comedy came from hitting someone, but these are some one of them at least is a farce. Anyway, it's not quite my style of comedy, but I did enjoy some of them, so there was that. Yay. The other big win that I finished this week, and I was very surprised to finish this one. I started reading it one day and I realized I'm like, probably wouldn't take me too long to finish this whole thing. And so I just sat there and finished it. And that was The Outsider by Albert Camus. And I had a complicated reaction to this one. I read another work by Camus, so I had a little bit of a sense of what I was going into, but generally speaking, I would say it was not what I expected at all. I had a hard time accessing this one because I had a hard time accessing the protagonist and being empathetic to the protagonist because he is so indifferent, and he seems to mostly agree with almost anything someone says, asks him to do. He kind of thinks not one way or the other about it, so I might as well do it. And it's like, really? Really? Don't you think you should take a stand a little bit sometimes or think for yourself? Kind of, but it's weird because in another sense, it really is about thinking for yourself and not being subjected to changing your opinion just because the situation, might be more beneficial to you if you do. So I found it just confounding. And it's another situation where I was thinking about it in terms of my Those Books exploration. This is not a title on it, but it could have easily been. It is very much that kind of work. It's influential. And he's known for being existentialist. I don't know if this is considered existentialist or an existentialist novel, but I should have looked that up, but there's so many books. There's only so much time. But I am continuing to think about this so much so that I lost my original thought. Oh, I was thinking about it from the context of those books because I always ask myself the question of, did I understand it? And this is one book that I definitely understood, the plot. I knew what was going on. Situationally, I knew what was happening. But more thematically, I wasn't quite sure the themes it was exploring, and also in terms of a message, I wasn't sure what message, if any, it had. And then in reading the author's note, or the afterword by the author, which was written in 1955, I did find out, and it was written from the perspective of having some feedback from readers on it and what people how people reacted to it, and how it's not necessarily what his intentions were or what he was trying to present or what he thought was important. I was thinking about that, this idea more of thematic, and if it's how important it is to understand what you're reading or not. And I got uncomfortable about that because I feel like I don't want to be reading something where I don't understand what the message is, but also you can make your own interpretation. But do you necessarily have to know what the author is? We're in a day and age where you can easily find out generally what the author's intent was, but that wasn't necessarily, pre-internet, that wasn't necessarily the case. And so it just really got me thinking. Just so you know, this is a harder title. Not necessarily, as I said, the plot was not that hard to follow, but the themes are I don't know exactly what the themes are, but what happens was upsetting and severe, way more so than I thought it would be. And early on, I was already not on the side of the protagonist because of some of the gender stuff that I thought. Not his relationships, but how he was involved in something that involved a woman, and he seemed to care not one way or the other, that it would negatively impact her. And I'm like, we have to care about each other. Like, we have to care about each other. And that's what I came away from it feeling like. I felt like he felt he had no impact on people in some ways. I don't think he overtly saw that, but he was never mindful of the fact that his actions impact those around him. And I think that is really not only upsetting, but dangerous and hurtful, and lots of things. So I have lots of thoughts. This is one of those books that gives you lots of thoughts, and it's also one that is not necessarily great to read outside the context of like school or reading with other people or intending to, really work through it, because I do feel at a bit of a loss in terms of what it was trying to say and my interpretation of it and stuff. But I am actually pretty happy that I did end up sitting down and reading a whole bunch of it at the same time, which isn't normally my way, but I just happened to have time and saw that I could finish it, and so I did. Along the same lines in terms of understanding, I read another title that I feel like I missed a lot, and I was conflicted about how that made me feel. And that was Echo Gear by Vincent Sammy. And these are comics. There's 3 volumes. I read them in the wrong order. I started with volume 1, but there's a volume 0. So I read volume 1 to 0, and I think you're supposed to read 0, 1, 2. And they have really cool artwork. It's mostly pencil work. I'll see if I still have it on Hoopla. And they are sort of like mixed media format, mystery. It's not a normal narrative. It doesn't spell things out. It's supposed to be engaging in sort of like a puzzle. Like, it actually says that. It's a hybrid codex mashup of imagery, text, sequential art, editorial, and advertorial notes? I don't even know what advertorial means. Ads? Is it advertorial? I don't know. The story is told in codes, puzzles, wordplay, and cross-referenced archaic media. But I really felt like I did not necessarily understand what it was trying to say. Now, part of it is the format, and it's intentionally, is told in a way. But a lot of it, so there are some disturbing images, just FYI. Like, there's a lot that very much include skulls and guns or, sights and stuff like that. And then a lot of it is really awesome pencil work, but it's sort of like as if you got a bunch of files. Like, look at that artwork. It's amazing. But I had no clue. Not a clue what it was about, what it was saying. And then, so I was just kind of like, that's interesting. And I obviously missed it in terms of what it was trying to say. But then I was thinking, after reading The Outsider, I was thinking, well, how important is it to understand what it's saying? Especially, I think, when I put together the fact that there were a lot of bones and skulls and guns, I'm kind of like, okay, I'm getting a little uncomfortable to subject myself to this and then not know what it's saying. And there was not many ratings of it on Goodreads, and there was not much I could look up on it. So I'm just feeling a little out of sorts on that one. So that's sort of just interesting to have not 1 but 2 titles on my that I read this week that I felt strange about understanding versus not understanding. And then mostly with The Outsider, it was mostly thematically and or the author's perspective and what they were trying to say. So it's been a bit of a heavier week. On the lighter side of things, I did finish Cat Got Your Cash by Julie Chase. I'm reading this for the Who Picked This Book club that Nicole and Jen do Wednesday night live streams, and so this one will be, I'm pre-filming this one will go up on Wednesday the 9th, and I'm looking forward to that. And then also I am going to continue on to the third book, Cat Got Your Secrets by Julie Chase, and they are both part of the Kitty Couture series, and have been really, really fun. They're cozy mysteries. Then I also have been quite enjoying Cinder Man by Anne Stuart. So this is a romance from the 90s, and it actually has a bit of the superhero format, like literally lab experiment, something goes wrong, people are in the lab when things go wrong, and then they start to have abilities. I am loving it. This is exactly what I feel like I want to read right now. That being said, there are a couple of things in it that are outdated or disturbing, and it does have one of my least favorite sci-fi things ever, and it's not the one I thought. Like with the Cinder Man, I thought, okay, the ability is going to be this, but it's something else, and I was like, oh, I just don't like it. I don't want to spoil it though, because I didn't expect it. And the protagonists don't like each other, but they're in a sort of it's not forced proximity, but they're inadvertently need to become partners to solve what happened. So it's been a lot of fun, but I have to take it a bit lightheartedly. And I find that sometimes when I read things like this that are a bit more suspensey, I enjoy them more if I pretend they're melodramatic, or maybe sometimes they are melodramatic. And so from that perspective, I'm enjoying it. That being said, because it's from the 90s, there are unfortunately some outdated stuff. And there was one upsetting thing. I was like, whoa, did that just really happen? And some of the things that he says and thinks, not okay. So, but more he thinks, so not that he acts on. So it's a little gray area. I'm also reading Sorcerers by Maurice Broaddus, and this is illustrated with illustrations by Jim Mahfood, and this is co-written by Otis Whitaker. This is an urban fantasy novella. I'm about halfway through. I'm really surprised I didn't finish it in time for my Friday read, so to that. And it's about it's a sort of second coming of age type of story. So it follows an adult who sort of slid by a few things, and something happens that looks like now he has to step up and into a sort of urban fantasy situation. That sort of hasn't quite happened yet, which I'm a little surprised at 50%, but I feel like I'm just teetering on the edge of it. Really cool illustrations in this one, and I don't have them right here, but I'm looking forward to continuing that. And then what else do I got? I'm also continuing, so you want to talk about Race by Ijeoma Oluo, and I think I just finished the chapter on police brutality, which was challenging and important. So that was good. I'm continuing to read this. I'm hoping to finish this month. And then I'm also continuing There Will Be Peace When You Are Done. Actors and fans celebrate the legacy of Supernatural, edited by Lynn S. Zubernis. And I am hoping to finish this by October 9th, because that's when the final season of Supernatural returns for its last 7 episodes. I think they have finished filming, or are, I think they're done. Instagram is good and bad for finding stuff like that out, so I think they're finished filming. I can't believe it. 15 years, and we're down to 7 episodes. So that is what I am working on, and I'm not committing to not starting anything new, because who's going to believe that? But I am going to try and work on finishing things that are already on my TBR, or already on my currently reading, because it's hovering around 28 to 30 these days, which is a little higher than I like. The unfortunate thing is with a lot of these titles, I'm just going to go to the next volume or the next in a series. So like once I finish Cinder Man, I will read another paranormal romance, so I need to work on some of sort of like my backlist of my currently reading. So hopefully that will work. So that's how my week has gone. Let me know how your week has gone and what you are reading this week, and let me know about this idea of themes, and because I don't always pick up on themes in works, and how important it is to you to not only understand the plot, but understand the theme and or what the author is trying to say. Because I am feeling like I'm at a bit of a sticky point there, and I'm going to continue to try and work through it, because I think it's important and will indefinitely come up again. So there you go. Those are my thoughts on this week's reading, and I will be back soon in another video. Thanks so much for watching.